Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to nominate Dean Forward as one of the outstanding drives and drivers from last year's Classic. We were watching him from, I think it was a woodcut or National Pit Straight. I can only describe him being at the helm of a bright orange McLaren. I think driving is the wrong word, given the amount of water that was on the track. Went to see him afterwards and had a chat with him in the pits. I congratulated him on just an amazing drive, really, and how the hell he managed to keep it on the track. He was saying that he was quite interested afterwards because he was looking at things like the rooster tails coming off it. Anyway, well done, Dean. Thanks, mate.
As the cars making their way down Hangar Straight at the moment, the grid has lined up like this. Front row, just do it by numbers, 1 and 8. Second row, 60 and 71, 60 and 71. The third row, 2 and 88. The fourth row, 34 and 29. The fifth row, number 171 and number 21. One car's spun off there, that's number 112 by the looks of things, which is Ross Hyatt. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, Ross, you shouldn't be doing things like that as a BRDC member. 171 and 21 on row 5. Row 6, numbers 3 and 59. Row 7 is 196 and 4. Row 8 is 35 and 24. Row 9 is 192 and 12, row 10, 18 and 14, row 11, 72 and 25, row 12, 112, we just mentioned, and 36, row 13, 17 and 6, row 14, 19 and 46, row 15, 76 and 13, row 16, 683 and 44, row 17, 152 and 42, row 18, 81 and 26, row 19, 86 and 74, row 20, 52 and 633, and the last car on the grid, number 37. The grid now has set off into the race, and taking the lead is Dean Forward in the orange McLaren as they come into your sight for the first time, followed by the other Can-Am car, Georg Hallau, with the number 1 Lola.
I can't think of any car I'd rather not be in on a day like today, but Dean Forward and George Hallau are doing a fantastic job, and they're followed by the 2 Chevrons. In fact, John Burton, the original John Burton, if you remember way back to the 60s and 70s, has been passed for third place by Jonathan Mitchell in the other Chevron, and in fact John Burton loses another place to the 171 of the Gather Coles as well. And just out of interest, I didn't notice the Harindra de Silva, Tim de Silva
right.
Tadak there.
Okay, well, I'm assuming that 171 is being driven in this race by David Gathercole. Today's race, they've got 2 races, one today and one tomorrow. Today's race is a 25-minute race, and tomorrow's race will be a pit stop race with a 1-minute pit stop in the middle. So the cars coming through Luffield at the moment, there, that spectacular looking March, number 88 of Kevin Cook, the March 75S. And in these very difficult conditions, a well-driven Chevron, even though it's a heavier and older car, the Chevron B8 in the hands of the likes of Martin O'Connell, are going to go very well indeed, and could be in an unrepresentative place as where they'd normally finish in the dry. So the leaders heading back up towards Beckett's for the first time, Alistair.
Yes, and it's the 2 big-engined cars, the Can-Am cars, that go through first, which is Dean Forward followed by George Hallau. But in third place, the 71 Jonathan Mitchell Chevron, followed by John Burton. But we're looking for the B8 of Martin O'Connell, but he hasn't yet managed to get further up than about 8th place. But certainly one to watch, as is the other Chevron B8 of Lockie and Thomas.
Andrew.
Yes, that mighty McLaren MHF Can-Am car driven by Dean Forward. He's from Barnsley, of all places.
What do you mean, of all places? Michael Parkinson comes from Barnsley.
Exactly, yeah. No, Michael Parkinson worked for the Barnsley Chronicle, didn't he?
Yes, as he keeps on telling us.
That is the car that John Fulston raced in a period in Thundersports. Well, I've been trying to find out its history before that, and I really don't remember, Ian. But it is a fantastic machine.
Yeah, and Dean Forward is somebody who can handle it. You're just watching him going through Abbey now.
Yeah.
But also going, what do you know about the history of the number 1 car, the Georg Hallau Lola T310?
Well, absolutely nothing at the moment.
Right.
I've no doubt it was sold by Carl Haas at some stage in the game. But I'll go and try and suss it out a bit.
Shock horror, John Burton has spun before my very eyes. So this is 2 BRDC members that have spun, one on the green flag lap, one on the first race. He's got going again, but John Burton spinning is a rare event, and he has just done that. Anyway, he's got going again. John Burton in the number 60 Chevron B26. So just to give you a rundown of the order, Dean Forward leading from Georg Hallau in the 2 Can-Am cars. Then in 3rd place, David Gathercole in the, it has to be him, the car that he'll be showing tomorrow with his with Lorraine Gathercole, the Lola T212. David, very, very quick driver. In 4th place is Jonathan Mitchell's Chevron. In 5th place, John Burton over the line, but of course he's dropped several places further back than that now. In 6th place is number 29. I reckon that's being driven by Mark Richardson. Behind Mark Richardson is number 59. We don't know which BB is in the car today, whether it's Robert or Josh BB, but anyway, it's the BB car then in 7th place. In 8th place is Martin O'Connell in the number 4 Chevron B8. That'll climb further places up, I would imagine, in Martin's hands. And also going well in these conditions, number 192, which I think will be driven by Julian Thomas today. I say it's a 2-driver race tomorrow, but not today. So the cars then, led by the mighty orange McLaren, with the Lola, the more modern Lola, might begin to catch. Just passing you, Alistair, I think you've got the 3rd place car with you now.
Yes, they've gone through Beckett's. We've got the next batch of cars coming through, which is led now by the BB T70. It's got ahead, I think, of the Maynard Richardson number 29, and then it's the O'Connell and then Thomas B8s in 8th and 9th places. Going very well in 10th is Rob Hall in the Shrike, first of the Sports 2000 cars.
That's a very impressive place to be, yes, Rob Hall. I haven't had a list of drivers for this race, Alistair. I don't know whether you have a helper who could take time out at some point to get us the details about this. I know it's not going to be possible before the end of this race, however, but we don't, and the time machine doesn't tell us either. Anyway, Dean Forward through for the 2nd time, leading by 4.5 seconds from Georg Hallau in the Lola. So despite the tricky conditions, the powerful cars are prevailing at the moment. And in 3rd place, David Gathercole in the little Lola T212, number 171. Not an original car, that's a reproduction, recent times, a continuation car so-called. Jonathan Mitchell going nice in the Chevron B19 in 4th place. Andrew from the pits.
Yeah, that Lola was the last Can-Am car that Lola ever built, actually, the T310 design, raced by David Hobbs, who of course was here with us last year.
Yeah.
And he raced in Elkhart Lake and rode Atlanta, a bit higher. The car was quite underfunded and underdeveloped. I know when I did David Hobbs' book, he didn't have a nice thing to say about it, to be honest.
Right. Well, this one actually seems...
And also, because this is the Porsches that all come online in the
yes.
in the Can-Am series then, so it didn't stand much of a chance. And they say, Ian, that it was. I always thought the March was the widest Can-Am car ever built, but apparently that Lola 310 is the widest racing car that's ever been built.
Well, I must say, now you say that, looking at it on the grid as they got coming up towards me for the first time, it does look very wide, and I was wondering about whether how wide it was compared with other cars. I mean, the McLaren's a pretty wide car as well, but that Lola certainly is a wide car. We've got other Lolas in the race, and one that's going well, which makes me think that it's Josh Beebe driving it. It's the number 59 Lola T70 Mark III BGT, which is rising up the order. It is now in 5th place, the Lola, and is closing in on Jonathan Mitchell. In fact, Alistair may tell us he's already got ahead of Jonathan Mitchell.
He has indeed, yes. Yeah. He's up to 4th place, so he's now got David Gathercole to look ahead to.
We're now in that situation where, because we've not been told who's driving it, we're kind of having to speculate. And Josh's dad isn't that slow, Robert Beebe, so it could be father, but I think it's going to be Josh who's driving the car. I hope we don't find egg on our face at the end, but it turns out to be father driving the car. But we'll plump, I think, for Josh Beebe driving it. Andrew may have a chance of finding out from the pit, but of course it's not a pit stop race, this, unlike tomorrow's race, so they won't be having to change drivers. Normally we get the information from the organisers, but they haven't given it for this race. So Dean Forward through for the 3rd time, but behind him, Georg Hallau has done a quicker lap. So here comes this, must be scooping up all large amounts of water on that very wide front bodywork, and the gap is down to 3 seconds and a new fastest lap to Hallau. He's not raced anything like as much as Dean Forward around Silverstone. But they're back with you now, Alistair.
They are, yes, both tippy-toeing through from Village to the Loop, and last time through, Dean Forward just breathed on the throttle and he got a big slide on, and the same thing now, it's fishtailing as he comes out of the Loop. Lots of steering input, but Georg Hallau is closing up, as you say, as they go under the bridge.
And Martin O'Connell is closing up on Jonathan Mitchell for 5th place. So Martin O'Connell in the Chevron B8, which has absolutely no right to be this far up the order. In the dry, it wouldn't be anywhere like this, but look at him.
Yes, he got through going into Village. Watched Martin O'Connell win a race outright in this very car at the Spa Classic last year in very similar conditions against a similar sort of field of T70s and so on.
Yeah, T70's okay, but Can-Am cars?
Yeah, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah. Whether he's going to get them, anyway, his sights are now set on the big Lola of, we think, Josh Beebe. And then up the road further is the David Gathercole Lola number 171. I can't see him actually catching either of the Can-Am cars, but you never know the way he's going. That's Jonathan Mitchell on screen in the red Chevron B19. There is Dean Forward. In the mighty Can-Am McLaren. Coming out onto Hanger Straight. And in the sectors, first sector, Hallau just slightly quicker, second sector slightly slower, so not much change either way on this lap. The lap times are coming down, I think, despite the very wet conditions. We've got a yellow flag, I see. It's not because of the safety car. Oh, it isn't. Yeah, I think we've got the safety car being deployed. Yeah, safety car being deployed, which is going to, if it stays as wet as it is, of course give Martin O'Connell a chance. The reason for it is the number 25, one of the extras, that's Jörg Tobler with his Sports 2000 Royale in the gravel. Well, one or two interesting things are going to happen as a result of this safety car. Well, they happened, of course, to Ollie Bryant in the previous race. It's a shame we have to have safety cars, but these must when cars end up in the gravel close to the edge of the circuit. What will, of course, happen is that everybody's going to close up. It's going to give Hallau a chance of being right on the tail of Dean Forward. By the end of the lap, Martin O'Connell had got ahead of... No, he got ahead of Josh Beebe, who'd also been passed by Jonathan Mitchell. So the order at the end of lap 4, in the lead, number 18 Forward, so he'll be the first car. Yes, he is behind the safety car. Then we've got Georg Hallau in the big Lola, number 1 in second place. Then we've got number 171, David Gathercole, in the Lola T212, the little Lola, if you like. In fourth place is this performance by Martin O'Connell in the Chevron B8, number 4, which has no right to be there at all. Where did it qualify? Qualified on the 7th row. But in these conditions, obviously Martin O'Connell's ability can negate the performance deficit that the car would have in the dry. Jonathan Mitchell, number 71, is 5th. 6th is 59, we think, Josh Beebe in the Lola T70 Mark 3B. And then in 7th place is 192. And again, we don't know who's driving the car, but it could be Julian Thomas.
It looks like Julian's helmet.
Right, thank you, Alistair. So that's 192, Julian Thomas. In 8th place, 29. Which could be either Mark Richardson or Julian Maynard, who was brought in as the second driver for that car. But again, we don't know, not been told who's driving it. And then behind that, in 9th place is 35, Robert Hall's Shrike in the leading Sports 2000 car, which I was mentioned. And in 10th place, number 88, is Kevin Cook with his March 75S 2-litre Sports prototype. John Burton, after his spin, has clawed his way back up into 11th place in the number 60 Chevron B26, and in 12th place, number 18, another two-driver car without us knowing who the driver is, either Mark Dwyer or Jamie Brayshaw, both of whom are quick, so it's going to be impossible until we see them out of the car to tell who's driving that car. So the car in the gravel shouldn't take too long. They're Sports 2000 cars, so it's not too heavy. Once the marshals can go to it, and but maybe the gravel's done the job too well. It'll be needing a tow out of it, so we'll have a couple of laps of safety car, I'm afraid, in what is meant to be a 25-minute race. Tomorrow's race is 40 minutes and does have a pit stop. So the safety car leads them round, Dean Forward in this. Oh, it's coming in at the end of this lap, good news. It's not far off the end of the lap either, it's just coming into Stowe Corner now. So the racing will resume with various possibilities. Georg Hallau will be keen of somehow challenging Dean Forward, having been outstarted by him first time around at the original start of the race. And then Martin O'Connell will have designs on passing David Gathercole. Both quick drivers. David Gathercole is quick. Jonathan Mitchell has taken to racing this Chevron V9 team. He hasn't raced that much, but he's been driving it very, very well this year in these races. Former Caterham racer. So here we go, racing again, and you can hardly see the second place Lola in the spray. Though Dean Forward leads through Abbey. No change in the order behind at Abbey. Got another Chevron going nicely though, that's the Julian Thomas Callum Lockie car. We think Julian Thomas in the car, number 192 in 7th place. And they're back with you, Alistair.
Yes, and already Martin O'Connell has designs on 3rd place from David Gathercole, but I think Gathercole, as long as he keeps it together, should get out of Aintree first. Yes, he does, so he stays in 3rd place. Martin O'Connell right behind in 4th. So I'd put some money on Martin O'Connell having a go down into Brooklands.
Okay, right, well, we've got Spray heading towards Brooklands at the moment on the screen. Martin looks for the inside line, but wasn't close enough, so David Gathercole still in 3rd place in the Lola T212 replica through Luffield. And I see that Josh Beebe is ahead of Jonathan Mitchell. So through Woodcote. Where's Martin going to make his move? He's just as quick as David Gathercole through Woodcote. And as they head past the Heritage pits and towards Copse Corner, David Gathercole has the power to stay ahead and the handling to stay ahead through the corner as well. But they're both, I think Josh Beebe now going better than he was perhaps just before the safety car. So Josh Beebe in the Lola T70 is mixing it as well, Alistair.
Yes, Josh Beebe gets past Martin O'Connell coming through Maggots Corner into Beckett's and moves himself up into that 4th place. But Martin tries to get back through the last element of Beckett's, goes on the inside, but there isn't room there. Josh Beebe stays ahead, and he now sets off after David Gathercole for that 3rd place. Beebe actually must have spun at Stowe or maybe Club out of your sight just before the safety car, because he lost 2 places between here and you.
Okay, so he's really getting back to where he was anyway, but he's got ahead of David Gathercole, who came back at him going into Stowe Corner, but not successfully. So the big Lola leads for little Lola, which is an easy thing to say, and into Club they go. The big Lola stays ahead in the livery of Sid Taylor Racing, white with the green stripe over it, which were taken from Team Elite, which is the original team that ran this colour scheme of white with the green stripe. Into Abbey. Josh Beebe ahead of David Gathercole and Martin O'Connell. With Jonathan Mitchell now coming into the picture as well, I think you'll find, Alistair, when they come back at your side.
Coming up towards Village now, yes, Beebe turns in the Lola T70. Martin O'Connell has a sneaky look up the inside of David Gathercole at that tight right-hander, and then another one into the tight left at the loop, but there's not really any room to get through there, but that doesn't stop Martin having a go as they come out of Aintree. Beebe starting to pull away now from the battle between Martin O'Connell and David Gathercole on the Wellington Straight.
And we have just under 8 minutes of this race remaining. And David Gathercole making sure he occupies the middle of the road, but Martin O'Connell's going to dive down on the inside as they turn into Brooklands, but he didn't quite make it. And so David Gathercole still just holding off Martin O'Connell as they come out of Brooklands into Luffield. Now Martin going round the outside, sticks with him on the outside, and then cuts across to the inside, the cut back, and he gets level as they go into Woodcote Corner, but he can't quite get level. And so the Lola still leads the Chevron. But the normal sort of competition for this Lola would have been the Chevron B16, the later Chevron, not the B8. The B8 is an earlier car from 1967-68. And Martin O'Connell doing great things with it to try and find a way around the more modern, both in terms of design and in terms of construction. This particular car, one that was built not so long ago. but to the period specification. Yeah.
Josh Beebe runs wide at Beckett's, goes across the grass in the middle element of the corner, stays ahead of the O'Connell-Gathercole battle. Yes, the O'Connell-Gathercole battle as they go onto the hanger straight once again, but they're much closer.
And we just saw the car of Kevin Cook being pushed to one side. He's had a moment, has had a mechanical problem. Anyway, Kevin Cook, number 88, who was running in 8th place, is now out of the race. So it is still just David Gathercole ahead in the red Lola, ahead of the blue Chevron V8 of Sandy Watson's car, but being driven, of course, by Martin O'Connell. Let's just look at the Sports 2000 category. It's still being led in the Shrike, that very spectacular looking little Shrike, rather like a Dougal on wheels. Number 35, Robert Hall with the Shrike P15. Meanwhile, Dean Forward leading by less than a second. The gap's come right down, Alistair.
Yes, they're going through Village up to the loop now. My attention was taken by an incident on the other side at Beckett's. We're going to have definitely a yellow flag, maybe another safety car. I'm afraid there's bodywork on the track. And Dean Forward goes through in the lead ahead of Georg Hallau and down onto the Wellington Straight. Then we look back to the loop again and we find Martin O'Connell ahead of David Gathercole out of Village into the loop. So Martin O'Connell moves that V8 up into 4th place, just behind the T70, Lola T70 of Josh Beebe.
It's worth making the point that Martin O'Connell, in his youth, he's not an old chap now, but in his youth was a Class B British Formula 3 champion. So he also won the Formula Vauxhall Championship. So he is a very, very good driver indeed. Member of the BRDC and fought off another challenge, re-challenge there by David Gathercole. So Martin is a really skillful driver and has really become one of the top drivers in historic racing. Also runs a very good preparation business, as Sandy Watson knows, because he entrusts all his cars to Martin to prepare. Well, Dean Forward still leads from Georg Hallau by less than a second. The gap coming down and down, but we're going to run out of race, aren't we? There's 4 and 3/4 minutes remain. You've got the Lola, the BB Lola, I think, Alison.
The car's just coming past the incident at the exit of Maggots, lead us down onto the hanger straight once again. But our battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th coming through Beckett's.
That's the bodywork on the track that you were telling us about, shown on the screen now.
Yes, and the car is actually parked against the barriers right outside my commentary box. Driver, I'm pleased to say, is out and standing with the marshals. But quite a big incident there, which, as you say, has left bodywork from Maggots to Beckett's.
So I think let's let the race run to the end now with 4 minutes to go. Do you know which car it is?
I've got Duncan out there. It's right underneath the barriers. I've got Duncan out there trying to look. He tells me possibly Ross Hyatt.
Oh dear.
Fortec Motorsports racing suit. Would that be Ross?
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh dear, because he spun, of course, on the green flag lap as well. So poor Ross. But anyway, the lead gap has gone up enormously. It was just under a second. Now it's just under 6 seconds. So Georg Hallau having a moment. Oh, we're about to see why. We've got a replay coming up. There's Dean Forward. Now, what about Hallau? He comes into view backwards. Enter stage right, backwards. But a well-held moment. You have to give him credit for catching the moment, and credit to Hay Fisher as well for catching the moment on camera. But he is now a more distant second, but running clear of Josh Beebe in the number 59 Lola. We're about to find out whether we're right in assuming it's Josh and it's not his dad Robert Beebe driving that car, because he's in 3rd place and therefore destined for the podium. Martin O'Connell in 4th place, David Gathercole 5th. Andrew?
Yeah, just that was definitely Ross Hyatt if it was the Fortec race suit. I tried to find out which BB was driving. I've walked all down the pit lane trying to find the team, but sadly I've been unsuccessful with that. But just a quick thought about Martin O'Connell. He's also in the next race, so he would have been in 3 successive races. Yes. But if you remember, when he won the Formula 3 B section, you know, he was very underfunded.
Yes.
He is definitely one of those unsung heroes, and it's great to see him, you know, coming on so strong as a driver these days in historics.
Yeah,
and a terrific bloke.
If you remember in Formula Vauxhall before that, when he won the championship, that was an underfunded effort as well. I mean, he prepares the cars himself.
Yeah.
Back then. Yes. He possibly is quite the right shape for being a young driver these days.
A bit chunky.
Anyway, meanwhile, back at the front, there we are, the leader coming into club corner, and will start his last lap. It's been an impeccable performance by Dean Forward, who drives a variety of historic cars very well, whichever he drives. If you were here years ago, well, 4 or 5 years ago at the Classic, he drove a Ford Mustang and put the cat amongst the regular pigeons. And he is now, as I say, on the last lap. But he was taking it easy, and Georg Hallow is closing up once more. The gap was 6 seconds after that spin that Hallow had, but he's now back to just under 3 seconds. He's closing in, Alistair.
Yes, he is coming up towards the loop now, and I think maybe this is Dean Forward just making sure that he gets to the finish safely, because the track conditions have definitely worsened over the last and Dean gets a very big understeering moment, just aquaplaned on the exit of Aintree, but back on the power again and down the Wellington Straight. I think it's just making absolutely sure that he gets to the finish, and confirmation that what we already know is it was Ross Hyatt who had that incident, just being attended to now. Third place, Josh Beebe.
Leader through Luffield, with the Lola reeling him in. But I'm sure you're right. Yes, it is Dean Forward just making sure he gets the car to the flag. It's not, as he pointed out to Andrew yesterday, it's not his car, and he doesn't want to do any damage to it. He's driven it very, very well indeed. And Georg Hallow has driven the Lola very well indeed, and the gap continued to come down, but not so as I would have thought there's going to be any threat to Dean Forward over the last half of the last lap. Passing you now.
In fact, yes, I think Dean has opened out the gap between when we saw him last at the other side of the circuit and through to Beckett's, because the gap seems to have gone back out to about 5 seconds as they exit Beckett's for the last time.
David Gathercole has gone missing. He's gone into the pits, I see. Don't know anything about that, but David Gathercole, who was, of course, running in 3rd or 4th place, the Lola number 171, is no longer circulating. We haven't seen it in the pits, but it is in the pits according to the timing screen. So that has elevated the other Chevron V8, the quick one of Julian Thomas, we think, number 192 to 5th place, and 6th is the number 29 car of Mark Richardson, or maybe Julian Maynard, but probably Mark Richardson, number 29 in 6th place. Andrew, as the leader takes the flag.
The pit lane is completely clear, Ian, so I don't know where he's gone.
OK, thanks, Andrew. Right, the checker flag goes out to Dean Forward. It's been an impeccable performance in very tricky conditions with all that power to the right foot. 8.8 litres of Chevrolet power. 8 litres in his case, not the full 8.8 that the Mark 717 had, which we haven't really seen much of in this race. There in 3rd place is the number 59 Lola T70 Mark 3B GT. With, we think, Josh Beebe, but we'll find out when it comes to the podium whether it's Josh or his dad. So the first 3 through, Dean Forward, Georg Hallow and Josh Beebe. And then in 4th place, it will be the redoubtable Martin O'Connell in the Chevron V8 BMW, obviously winning his class SP1. And behind him will be, we think, in the number 192 Chevron V8, Julian Thomas. Behind him in 6th place, winning the Sports 2000 class SP20, number 35, Robert Hall. Very impressive performance that in the Shrike by Robert Hall to take 6th place. John Burton, obviously not enjoying the conditions after that spin, in the end finishes in 7th place. Number 60, John Burton takes 7th. In 8th place, Mark Richardson. So John got ahead of the number 29 Lola on the last lap to finish in 8th place, in 7th place. In 8th place, Mark Richardson. In 9th place, Tom Stoughton, number 76, with his Lola T492, which I think is the second of the Sports 2000 finishers. Yes, it is. And in 10th place, number 196, John Spears, who was out in the earlier race in Mr. Jaguar, and now it is recently acquired, like yesterday or a few days ago, McLaren Elba M1B, obviously enjoying it and finishing in 10th place despite the difficult conditions. First of the weekend's 2 HSCC Thundersports races have taken place. There you can see the result on the screen. First, Dean Forward in the McLaren M8F, number 8. Second, Georg Hallau with the Lola T310, number 1. Third, Josh Beebe, shown on the screen as the driver, well, fair enough, number 59, the Lola T70. In 4th place, alternative drivers here, but I think it must have been Sandy Watson, obviously, Martin O'Connell, obviously not Sandy Watson, in the Chevron, number 4 in 4th place. In 5th place, we think Julian Thomas, number 192. In 6th place, Robert Hall, number 35. In 7th place, John Burton, number 60. In 8th place, we think Mark Richardson, number 29. 9th, number 76, Tom Stoughton. And 10th is number 196, John Spears in the McLaren. Alan, for the podium.
And so the podium presentation for race 3 of the weekend, the HSCC Thundersports Sprint, and just the top 3 drivers onto our podium. Let's get the drivers onto the podium in reverse order. In 3rd place, it was Dad at the wheel, number 59, Robert Beebe. Well done, Dad. Congratulations, Robert. Over to the far end he goes, onto the 3rd step of the podium. In 2nd place, number 1, Georg Hallau. Congratulations. Onto the 2nd step of the podium you will go, and then onto the top step of the rostrum, number 8, Dean Ford. Well done, Dean. Many congratulations. He'll take the top step of the podium, and then Steph Crouch, representing the HSCC, will make the presentation. First of all, to Robert Beebe at the far end of the podium, getting congratulated by the other 2 drivers on the podium, and then to Georg Hallau on the 2nd step of the podium, and then an immaculate performance by our race winner. Dean Ford takes the huge silver trophy for being the winner of race 3 of the weekend, the HSCC Thundersports Sprint. All 3 drivers now can share the top step of the podium and pose for the cameras, and there are many, including the television cameras, of course. And now the pictures are complete. Let's see if I can have a chat to our race winner. Pop down and have a chat to me, Dean, because in very tricky conditions, fending off the water was the name of the game today, Dean.
Yeah, I think it was very, very wet. It was almost on the verge of should we really do it, but you just drive with sense, don't you? So it's good, really good, yeah.
It was incredible to watch, because the visibility, if you had anyone in front of you, was down to 0 in some places.
When I came across some back markers, it was 0, and you're just hoping that they've seen you and you've seen them. But hey, same for everybody, wasn't it?
The other thing, Dean, is that everybody is learning the resurfaced circuit in different conditions this weekend.
Yes, and that's the first time I've ever driven that car in the wet. So I don't think the surface matters.
Well, that's a warning for everybody else, isn't it, Dean? Many congratulations. He takes our win. Dean Ford in car number 8 wins our 3rd race of the weekend for the Silverstone Classic, the HSCC Thundersports Sprint.